Let's find out more about the cooks and ski bums of Ski Tip Ranch. Helen Rich came up again. This time she found us Hazel. Her name reminded the guests of the Hazel cartoons. I remember someone saying, Ski Tip not only has its own Horatio, it has its own Hazel. Hazel was a gem. She was also a marvelous cook. The first year Hazel was with us, I found the only hard thing was going to Breckenridge each day to fetch her. She lived there with her family. Each morning I would get up extra early and drive the 20 miles to Breckenridge, then coming back, dropping the children off at school on the way. Arriving home in the evening, I would eat supper with the family and guests. I'd then have to drive Hazel back to Breckenridge, returning home dead tired. All this contributed to my decision to quit my job. Hazel dubbed Ski Tip Lodge Confusion Lodge. She would call out to me as I left in the morning, "How many for dinner?" I'd call back as I was getting in the car. "Let's see, 14. No, drop 4. No, wait a minute, I believe it's 9. She'd laugh and go back inside humming happily. Actually, the best count Hazel could get was for breakfast, when she checked the row of guest ski booths on the beams and divided by 2. One day, as our pretty ski bum Nora was showing a guest to her room, I heard the guest ask, "I heard the cook say Confusion Lodge. Why is that?" Nora laughed. "Oh, it seems confusing, but it's planned that way." Hazel was with us for 2 more years. She was temperamental as are all cooks, I was to learn. One day, after returning from Denver with the crates of lettuce, eggs, and meat for the week, and fighting a blizzard over Loveland Pass, I got home an hour after dinner had begun. I could hear the guests enjoying the dinner while Horatio and I unloaded the car. As soon as I entered the kitchen, Hazel threw down her apron and said, "I quit." She continued in a shaking voice, "If you can't get here in time for dinner, I quit." It took a bit of apologizing and a vivid description of my trip over the pass before she simmered down. All of a sudden, I realized that her temperamental outburst was really a relief of worry. I was amused, as I had gotten used to driving that pass. After all, we drove within 2 miles of the pass every day to go skiing at Arapahoe Basin. I lost Hazel too, when she and her family moved away. This next time, I was lucky in finding Petunia. She was jolly, fat, and loved pink. She had a long trailer painted pink, which she insisted had to be moved up to Ski Tip Ranch. She wanted it placed right at the kitchen door. We argued with her that if we put the trailer near the old barn, she'd have a better disposal system, as she'd be right by the septic tank. Max found a bunch of the slabs out at the sawmill and built a fence around 3 sides of the trailer. The barn hid it from the road on the north side. She moaned, "Nobody can see my beautiful trailer." Max placated her. "But Petunia, I did this to keep those cold winter winds away." Everyone was happy, and there was no transportation problem. With every new cook, one waits with trepidation. Everything seemed perfect with Pet, as we all soon called her. We now had 3 ski bums, plus a dishwasher, and Pet loved them all. Sometimes, as I passed through the kitchen, I'd see her recipe book on the table open and a delicious sounding dessert, and on a piece of paper laid across the page would be written, "Pet, do it." One thing Pet loved to do was to answer the phone, even when she was cooking. As soon as the phone rang, she'd yell at one of the girls to stir the gravy or watch whatever was cooking so it wouldn't burn. The phone was located in the living room behind the fireplace in a little closet. Elbowing everybody out of the way, even any guests, she would tear out to the living room. Reaching the phone, she would lift the receiver and say, "Ski Tip Ranch, what do you want?" It took quite a while before I realized she was steaming open our letters. Since we were all gone when the mailman left the mail out in the box, out on the road, she had ample time to do this. After getting home from ski school, I would go through the mail to check on any reservation letters. After all, this was our bread and butter. One day, as I was going through the kitchen so I could grab some cookies on my way to the dining room, Pet called after me, "You got a $200 deposit in the mail today." I stopped dead. "Pet, how do you know this?" She was all confusion. I held the letter up to the window and I could see through it. I went on into the office, held the letter up to the light, and couldn't see a thing through the envelope. Then I realized she'd been opening mail. She's a darn good cook and so good-hearted. I'd better leave well enough alone, I told Max. Pet also loved to stand in front of the fireplace, watching the guests arrive. This didn't bother us, only I wish she wouldn't lift her skirt up in the rear to warm her fanny as she stood there. Pet had a desire to learn to ski. One day, Oma, who was then over 80, and a very careful snowplow skier, told her she'd teach her. Up to the basin I drove them. Pet had improvised an outfit. She had on heavy wool pants and an oversized red, orange, and black lumberjack. We finally got her on a pair of skis and told her to stand still in front of the ski school while we put on our skis. Undaunted, Pet must have decided she could at least walk on the skis. Pushing herself off with her ski poles, she started to slide. I heard a yell and looked up just in time to see her heading for the melted snow patch, which had made a small pool of water on the slope in front of the ski patrol building. She swayed back and forth, gathering speed until she skimmed off into the water and sat down with a big splash. I was laughing so hard, as was everyone else, that I couldn't move. The ski patrol extricated her from the shallow pool. Gathering what dignity she could, Pet announced, "I was going real good until that darn pool of water got in the way." It was this incident which made me realize how foolish it was for the cook to ski. A new rule went up in the kitchen. No cook skis except in the off-season, except for Edna. Pet used to threaten to visit the guests at their homes. "You know, Edna," she would say to me, "you wouldn't know they're rich. Why, they're real nice. They're real common folk." Pet decided one spring, after being with us for several years, to visit a sister in California. She never came back, but had her trailer moved out there.